What's better than $2 Tuesday at Sports Memo? How about Freebie Friday? We can't go any lower than free, and each and every Friday we'll hand select a best bet from one of the hottest handicappers on the site and give it out for free. All you have to do is each and every Friday, head over to sportsmemo.com. The Freebie Friday will be listed on the homepage, and you'll be just a click away from a free bet.
Welcome in, guys. We are back right here on WagerTalk TV. I'm Andrew McInnis. Happy to be back. A little bit of a family day yesterday, taking care of a few things, but happy to be back here with you guys for a big game on tap. And of course, happy to have Bryan Leonard with me. What's up, Bryan?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I like those glasses on you, man. Looking good.
Thank you. I pulled the old Donnie Iris glasses back from the 70s. So, yeah, it's really interesting tonight that I'm speaking to you on the show actually today, because we may be going head to head if things work out in Vegas tonight. I'm excited about that. How about you?
Very excited. Very excited. I think my team might be a little bit of an underdog, though, if that does happen. But we'll jump into that once we get there. Carmine, the day off today from Puck Time. You can catch him on Stoppage Time, though, which was recorded just before this show. And make sure you guys grab all of Carmine's soccer action heading into the Euro Cup and check out his publication that he did. Worked very hard on that at his profile page, wt.buzz/CB. But last night, let's discuss last night just real quick, Bryan. I mean, Teddy Covers on WagerTalk today, he has been using this phrase that I've kind of liked a little bit. Very simple. He's saying when teams are dead, they're dead. And, you know, I look at this New York Islanders team, look at the way that they played in the last 3 minutes. And it was almost like reminding me of, you know, when you're younger and you see like a kid getting bullied and, you know, they're taking his hat and they're just tossing it around and not giving it back to him. That's how it felt with the Boston Bruins. Like, the last 3 minutes, it was just the New York Islanders passing the puck around, you know, casually skating around, having some fun. It didn't really seem like the Bruins could make that extra push. Brad Marchand scored a goal 4 minutes into the third period. And really after that, the Islanders didn't really look too nervous.
Yeah, we've talked in the past about how Boston is one of those teams that really struggles to score certain times. And they struggled in this series. The Islanders, you know, obviously a lot of people are on Boston. They were the clear favorite in that series. But when you took a look at the way they played all season long, it looked like the Islanders had some value. I stunk on my series prices in the first round, so I didn't even bother giving out anything in the second round. But, yeah, the Islanders seemed to match up very well with them, and they were very confident. And having the chance to clinch at home is a major advantage, and that's another situation that we're going to have in tonight's game with Colorado and Vegas. And you did mention if Montreal plays Vegas. I did see, I think it was a Westgate came out, and they said they expected Vegas to be a 4-1 favorite. But keep in mind, Vegas takes a lot of money on the nights, and those are Vegas casinos. In fact, if you look at the lines for today's game, the Vegas lines are higher because they've got to build that in a little bit because they're not going to get any locals betting on Colorado tonight. So they have to make that line a little bit higher. So, yeah, it's one of those deals where if you've got an offshore and you happen to live in Vegas, you may be able to get a scalp here by the time this game goes off.
Well, and if you are a local and you are grabbing a ticket, a physical ticket on the Avalanche, you better not show anybody that ticket. You better hide that, keep that in your pocket or something. Don't let anybody see that ticket that you're holding on to. But I just wanted to say about that Islanders team, I'm disappointed in myself, Bryan, because, you know, I liked them last year because I think they're a playoff-built team. They pick up two guys, Travis Zajac and Kyle Palmieri, great coach as well. But, you know, it's really hard to go from one series to the next and then kind of just change your opinion on a team. And what really was tough for me was that I think everybody knew, it was quite evident that if it wasn't for a couple bad defensive breakdowns and multiple actually, weak goals from Pittsburgh's goaltending from Tristan Jarry, New York's not moving on. You know, the New York team that we saw in their last series versus the team we saw against Pittsburgh would be a complete different team. Do you agree with that?
I agree. You find that very much so in the playoffs, especially when you're playing somebody who plays a different type of game. And like similar with Vegas when they played Minnesota in that first round, that was an extremely tough situation. And then they got to go 7 while Colorado gets the 4-game sweep. So you have to think of it. And I put a 5% out on Vegas or on Colorado in that first game. It worked out very well. But when you switch over from one to another, a lot of it has to do with how hard you had to play in that previous series. And, Boston was a better team. And when you looked at the way those games played out, Boston was the better team from the advanced stats for the most part, but the Islanders were the team that just got the job done. And you find that, and it was very similar to, the series I got crushed on, the Winnipeg and Edmonton series, where if you looked at the advanced stats, Edmonton should have won virtually every game, and they continued to shoot themselves in the foot, and Winnipeg took advantage. And then we saw in the very next series where Montreal plays Winnipeg, and Winnipeg just was not the same team.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, Brian, one of my new favorite things is that, when people go online and they're talking about shots on goal, that number, because I know the advanced stats, they actually talk about dangerous shots on goal. If a team has lots of shots on goal, as Dave Koken always says, they could be from the outside, the blue line. They might not be dangerous shots. And like you said, it's kind of the story with the Montreal Canadiens. They don't get a lot of shots all the time, but when they do, they're capitalizing on those. Before we get into the game, I want to just give a huge shout out to everybody tuning in live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're watching. We appreciate you guys. It's going to be an unbelievable game. Make sure you guys comment below in the live chat room or in the archive chat who you guys have tonight. Do the Avalanche stay alive, or do the Golden Knights move on? Let's jump into it, Brian. Minus 135 in favor of the Golden Knights. The Avalanche plus 115. Like you said, obviously you got to bump those numbers up in Vegas for the Vegas Golden Knights. But look, all I want to say just before I go to you is that I'm kind of the depth guy. It's all I really talk about with the hockey betting. It's all I talk about. I always say that I'm not much of a baker, but if I was, I would say my recipe for the playoffs is goaltending, physicality, and depth. And right now, that's what the Vegas Golden Knights have. And it's not what the Avalanche have right now, because, we had to send out a search party to find Nathan McKinnon's offense, Landeskog's offense, because they're figuring them out, and I have to mention that because we saw the same thing with McDavid. We saw the same thing with Austin Matthews. So what are your thoughts, and what do you think's been the key to success for this Vegas team?
Yeah, I'm always giving credit to guys out there who put in the work, and I'm a big proponent of The Athletic. And Jesse Granger did a tremendous article yesterday, one of the best articles I've ever seen in hockey. And he talked about how well Mark Stone matches up against McKinnon. And if you didn't read it, I would recommend it. In fact, I would recommend most of the articles on The Athletic. They've been tremendous. But he talked about Colorado's production with McKinnon against Stone and when Stone's not on the ice. Shots per 60. Without Stone, 33 for Colorado. With Stone, 20. Scoring chances per 60. 32 without Stone, 20 with Stone. High danger chances, which is just what you were talking about. 11.5 without Stone, 9 with Stone. Expected goals per 60, 2.59 without, 1.25 with. And what we've been talking about, goals per 60, 4.04 without Stone on the ice, 0 with Stone on the ice. Stone, it's worked out very well. If you take a look at when the teams at home make the last change, which is why last game, excuse me, why last game Colorado played better. Let me just get a quick drink here.
Yep, take your time, Brian. I agree with what Brian is saying, though, about that, about the home team getting the last change and how crucial it is. And I think that Colorado, it's also not just a big game for the players, Brian. I think it's a big game for the coaches tonight. It seems like Jared Bednar is getting out-coached.
Yeah, if you read the Colorado papers, they're really giving him a hard time. They're thinking he's making excuses. They were knocked out in the second round last year. They know they were the better team, the best team in the league going into this series. So he's under a lot of pressure. But the thing with being the home team being the advantage, and why the home team has done so well in this series, is you can make those adjustments. And what Vegas has done at home is, as soon as McInnis goes into the game, Stone goes into the game. And it's really prevented him from being a quality player, his normal excellence in this series. So that's something to keep in mind when you take a look at this game tonight, because obviously Vegas can make that last change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge factor. It's crucial for them. They're gonna have to find a way to match up, and that's kind of what I was gonna say about this game. Is that, as much as I always talk about depth, I really do feel like for the Avalanche, I'm kind of throwing that out the window, man. And I don't usually do that, but I think, I'm going to pull the old phrase that I used to say when I would joke around with Leaf fans, that if we don't see a goal from those big three tonight, I don't think the Avalanche can move on. That's how much pressure I'm putting on them. And don't get me wrong, when I say that, I think we're fully capable of seeing a Jonas Donskoy goal, or a goal from Cale Makar even, or Brendan Saad, or different guys like that. Burakovsky's been quiet this series. But Brian, I just I struggle to see, like you said, it's a great point you make, and I'm really happy we're talking about this, because it's stuff that does not get mentioned as much in the playoffs. And a guy on the Canadiens, Philip Deneau, who I've been trying to give a lot of spotlight to, he doesn't, his excellence doesn't show up on the stat sheet. It shows up just by shutting down other teams' players. That's really what he does. He wins faceoffs and he plays great defense. And I feel like that's been the issue. As far as totals go, look, I tweeted out last night, and hopefully you can get a kick out of this, but I'm not sure how much in-game betting you do, Brian, but I tweeted out, at this point, I'm going to make like a hoodie or a shirt that just says third period over, because it's pretty much what I do in every elimination game. And I've started to do it not just on the 1.5, but on the 2.5 a little bit too, because the juice is getting so high on these 1.5s, especially if it's a team like these two. You're going to see, some fluctuation, and you're going to see some really high prices. But a lot of times, like yesterday, we saw an early Boston Bruins goal, and then we saw not one, but we saw two empty net goals. So I'm going to kind of go with the strategy as far as the totals go and break it down by periods. I have that same feeling that I looked at for the Montreal Canadiens and the Leafs series, and I looked at for Tampa Bay and Carolina series. I'm looking at the first period to go under and the third period to go over. Now, by how much that goes over will completely impact the actual full game total altogether. So I'm more comfortable taking that third period over individually than taking the full game over as a whole. Any thoughts on that, Brian?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of good information out there. In fact, there's an article I retweeted yesterday. Talked about most sports, your home advantage is earlier in the game. And as the game goes on, both teams are used to playing, and the home advantage isn't as strong. In hockey, it's just the opposite. And I've talked about that earlier this season. And in fact, when Vegas scores first, they've only scored first out of the 12 games 4 times. So they've gotten off to slow starts, and they've been able to come back late. Now, if your team that is the favorite is the home team, you would figure come late in the game, they've got the lead, and that would open up some definite possibilities for them to get some open nets in the third period. So it's something that makes a lot of sense to me. The home value is not as strong early as it is in hockey, and you go back, over the years, and you can see that, which is totally just the opposite of what it is in the other sports. You take a look at baseball, you've got your best hitters up in the first inning, so the first inning is scored more for the home team. Basketball the same way. If you look at the lines, if you got an 8-point favorite, the first period or the first half would be maybe 4.5, or 4.5, 5. But it's totally the opposite in hockey. So that makes a lot of sense to me in that regard.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to ask you one question before we kind of get some final thoughts. And I don't want this to come across the wrong way about Vegas fans, so take it easy on me, Brian. But this is kind of, I was getting into it a little bit. I was on the radio a couple days ago and having this discussion. You know, everybody, they love doing these polls and who is the best fans in the NHL, who are the most lively fans. And I know you go to games, you have season tickets, you go with Marco. I'm curious though, and I got to get your honest opinion. If this team had 25 wins on the year, is the support the exact same as we're seeing right now?
No, it would have been the first year, the second year, maybe even last year. This year, it's a little bit different. Being a season ticket holder, normally everybody is flooding us to try to get tickets for the games. I'm out of town today, so I won't be going to the game. And it was tough for me to get rid of my tickets. And I called up all my friends, and they didn't want to pay the price is one thing, and they wanted to watch it on TV. But in year one, year two, I would have a waiting list, and I could have sold my tickets anywhere. So that is correct. It's a situation, especially now that we've got the Raiders. They're talking about the A's moving here. There's actually been talk this week about the NBA. So Vegas is turning into one of those towns where originally the Knights were everything. And if you remember back for that original season, the Knights started playing the week of when they had the shooting out here in Las Vegas, October 1st.
Yes.
That was such a building point for this city because basically Vegas is transient. It's very much like, New York and LA, and a lot of times people go in and out of these towns, and Vegas was that way. It was nothing like, I'm from Cleveland. In Cleveland, diehard fans, everybody knows each other. I think most cities are that way. So that was the one thing, the shooting, unfortunately, brought this entire city together. And being with the Knights, we're out in public. They did so much things for the community. Everybody loved the Knights, and it was just so emotional that first year, second year. It's wearing off a little bit, but the Knights are still very popular here. But if they had a bad team, they wouldn't be selling out every game. I have been to other stadiums, other arenas, but the teams I've gone to, for the most part, although I did go to Tampa one time, but for the most part, they've been, the Kings, the Coyotes,
right,
teams that aren't very good. So it's kind of hard to compare. But yeah, we've got great fans here, and every visiting player that comes in here is talked about, how great the fans are. When we've signed the free agents, they wanted to play in front of these fans. So it's been great right now. But if it ever comes to a point where we're not very good, I could see it change.
And I have no beef with Vegas. I think it's unbelievable, the fandom that they have. Like I was there. I went to a game. I went by myself. I didn't even go with anybody. I was in the crowd. I met some people, and they won. I cashed a ticket on them. I bet on them at my hotel. So the fans are great. And I just ask you that because, I think people give them a bad rep of being casual fans. I think a lot of people in Vegas have actually adopted the sport of hockey, and it's been very impressive to me.
Well, I will say one thing. Being from Cleveland, I think it was a Rust Belt thing with, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Detroit. The home fans are really bad against the opposition. I know New York and Boston are that way. In fact, I went to a Red Sox game one time with some friends from Boston. They wanted to know why I didn't wear my Indians jersey. And I said I didn't want to get my ass kicked. So it was one of those situations where I know where to cheer and where not to cheer. And it's a situation here in Vegas. We are very complimentary to the opposition. I was there when Washington clinched against us, and we were shaking their hands and congratulating them. You're not going to see that in Montreal. You're not going to see that in Toronto. So it is a situation right now. We're just happy to have hockey, and we've been blessed to have a really good hockey team.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get back, and we'll have to get you to Canada sometime. But don't go to Toronto. I'll meet you in Montreal. I'll show you what a real fan base looks like. Don't meet up with Carmine and the Prez. I'll show you a good time in Montreal. But speaking of Montreal, quick story about that. You mentioned about shaking hands with the opposition. I wasn't on this trip, Brian, but my father, he used to take a yearly trip every year with his friends and go to Montreal during the weekend of the Super Bowl. They'd go during the big game, and there'd always be 3 games. I think it would be like Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or something like that. And my dad's a diehard Boston Bruins fan, so you can tell already it's a crazy household whenever I go there. But he was wearing his jersey, and he tried to go to the bathroom at the intermission, and there were 4 like university, like really big dudes, probably like football players, blocking him from the bathroom. Literally wouldn't let him go to the bathroom. They were speaking very like hard like French. They didn't really speak too much English, and my dad speaks like broken French, and they pretty much told him like, hey man, like look at what you're wearing and then ask yourself why we won't let you in the bathroom. And my dad was like, are you serious right now? Like, am I gonna have to deal with this, or should I just walk away? They wouldn't let the guy go to the bathroom because of his jersey.
That's kind of like the way it is in the Rust Belt. I was there when LeBron played his first championship against San Antonio. Tim Duncan. I mean, you take a look at everybody on that San Antonio roster. They're all classy guys. And I'm sitting there with my buddy who's from Cleveland, has lived in Cleveland his entire life. And they were booing the championship ceremony for San Antonio. And I turned to him, I says, this is why nobody wants to play in Cleveland. And that's the way it was. And Cleveland hasn't been able to sign those free agents. So, nothing against Cleveland fans. I'm always a Cleveland fan, but you've got to give credit to the opposition when they're better than you and they win something. It's a class type of thing. And sometimes some of these cities just don't have it.
There's a few things I wanted to run down before we close this show out. One of the things I wanted to mention is a prop that I've been looking at for a couple of days now, and I'm continuously shocked at this price because I mentioned the third period over strategy, and I feel like this prop, it pretty much coincides with that third period over. Brian, at my book right now, and a few other shops, it's not available everywhere, I can get, will there be an empty net goal plus 200? And in an elimination game like this, you saw what happened yesterday. There wasn't just one empty net goal. There were 2 empty net goals. So the funny thing for me, if I take a look at this home tie and away, the draw bet is plus 330. I haven't bet too many OTs, as a lot of people know. But I have a feel if you take that plus 200 on an empty net goal and you take that plus 330 in the draw, I think you come out profitable, because I do not think this game is won in a 1-goal game. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of see that myself. In fact, if you do have that 1-goal lead, their chances are the goalie is going to be pulled about 2 minutes. If you have more than a 1-goal lead, they're going to pull them a lot sooner than that, especially in the situation for Colorado. Vegas has the lead. This is do or die for Colorado. So you may see 4 minutes to go that they're pulling their goalie because they're down multiple goals. So that makes a lot of sense to me. As for the overtime, yeah, I like that, but not as much as the third period goal. I think that makes a lot of sense. But it's something to keep in mind here. But I'll get to my selections on this game when we get to the best bet.
All right. I just feel like it's kind of a hedge, because I have to admit that I did play that exact same prop in the Montreal Canadiens elimination game as well. And it went to overtime. So, I had the puck line and I bet the empty net goal prop, and the Montreal Canadiens win the game and I don't win any of my bets. So I feel like the OT is just kind of a little minuscule hedge there. But yeah, quickly, as far as goal scoring props for anybody out there wondering for the prices, currently Nathan McKinnon's around plus 155, 165, Pacioretty plus 170, Rantanen plus 175, Marchessault plus 200, Mark Stone plus 200, Landeskog plus 230. And then down the list, you start getting into the plus 270s, plus 300s. So look, when you give me a plus 155, you can tell, Andy Lang has been giving out wagers to his clients literally on McKinnon to not get a point. And a lot of that has to go to the article and to what Brian was mentioning about the ability for Mark Stone to play great two-way hockey, not just offensively, but great defensive hockey as well. But just in a big game like this, maybe I'm biased because he's from around here. I've seen him show up in big games. He showed up representing Team Canada. He showed up in the Memorial Cup, showed up in the President's Cup. We'll see if he can show up when his back is against the wall in the playoffs. But plus 155 for, the big guy to score for this team. They always have that quote in NBA and different sports: big time players make big time plays. We'll see if he can do that. It's really hard for me to pass that up, Brian. I don't think I can at plus 155. But the next guy I wanted to look at was, the guy that you talked about, Mark Stone, plus 200. And the reason why, and I'm putting a lot of pressure on this third period over here, but I feel like he'll be out there because he's there defensively as well. So ice time from a coach is not just given to you because you're offensively skilled. You are trusted to be out there in crunch time because you're smart defensively. So I think that Mark Stone at a plus 200 price for the way he's been playing is an outstanding number. A few good long shots: Andre Burakovsky plus 330, Chandler Stevenson plus 335. Those are all they're both a couple good ones. And then Alex Tuck, I call him, the playoff machine. I mean, this guy, he's the definition, Brian, for the Vegas Golden Knights, I think, of a playoff guy. Like, I think the Leafs should just do everything they can to acquire a guy like him because he knows what it takes to win in the playoffs, but he might not be someone I'm sitting here talking about in the regular season. But a few little prop rundowns. As far as the shots on goal, I'd love to look at some of these top guys, but you're not going to get a great price. William Karlsson, you can get him over 2.5 plus 160. You can get Alex Tuck shots on goal over 2.5 at plus 100. I want to take Nathan McKinnon, but he's literally over 4 shots at like minus 200. And I'm not putting minus 200 out on a shots on goal prop. So let's jump into best bets, give some promos here, and let everybody know what we have up for packages. And I'll start with you, Brian. What's going on for you today?
I've got 4 baseball plays up today. I've got an afternoon account or an afternoon selection. Then I've got a 3-pack of nighttime baseball. Before I get to my selection, what is the Marcia Shaw stats on that for the odds?
Plus 200, so same as the Mark Stone.
What about the shots on goal?
Oh, sorry. Shots on goal. Over 2.5, I'm seeing around minus 165.
I kind of like that because he's playing very good. He's playing very well, and he's getting a lot of shots. And he's one of those guys that will shoot it. He's more of a shooter than a passer, let's just say. And if he's got a shot, He's going to take it. So I kind of like that one. This is an interesting game for me, and because I'd like to play teams that have outplayed the opposition in the game before and didn't get the results, a little bit of puck luck. And Colorado was the better team in the last game. They outplayed Vegas for most of the game. The third period, Vegas scored twice within a 30-second span. And but for the most part, most of the game, Colorado did what they wanted to do. I believe in the first period, they were 68% of the time they were in Vegas territory. They did what they wanted to do there. So it's tough to go against Colorado in that regard here. But the reason why I like Vegas, other than being at home, is the way that Colorado lost that game. And they came into the series, they swept the last series 4-0. They blow out Vegas the first game 7-1. They were outplayed in that second game, but they got that victory. Here they are 2-0, 6-0 in the playoffs. They think this is going to be an easy ride. And all of a sudden, now they don't have a clue for Vegas. And Vegas has actually outplayed them by more than what the scores have been. So they come into this game, really a team that's had everything go right for them all season long. When they've been healthy, they've been dominant. And to now go up against a team that they've struggled with these last few games, the mental situation is going to come into effect here. If they do fall behind in this game, this one could be an easy victory for Vegas. So I like Vegas here. And the line's going down. It opened at 140. Now I'm seeing anywhere from 128 to 135. I wasn't originally going to play Vegas. I thought I'd sit it out. But now that we're getting these better numbers, I like Vegas in this game.
It's hard to argue that number, and it's only getting better for the Vegas Golden Knights. Brian Leonard taking the Vegas Golden Knights to take the series and then match up against the Montreal Canadiens. And that'll be kind of fun to break that down with you and talk about those two teams facing off together. Guys, obviously, you guys know what my best bet is, but I will say what it is. It's going to be that third period over. And I mentioned that not every single book offers it prior to the game. The majority of them should for you guys, but you have to lay a price for it. Minus 160, minus 170. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, play the over 2, play a half unit on 2.5 and a half unit on 1.5, or cut that in the middle somehow. Try and work your way around that, because I feel like in this game in particular, even more so than yesterday with the Boston Bruins, the third period will be the highest scoring period, whether it's just with natural goals, whether it's with empty net goals. Let's not forget how talented the Avalanche actually are. So if they pull their goalie early, like Brian said, maybe I'm not just betting on an empty net goal. I'm betting on Colorado to score a few goals in the third period. And if not, we're betting on them to get scored on as well in that empty net. So third period over, getting 2 goals. Take the price, guys. It's well worth it. I've been burnt before on these 2.5s. Take the 1.5, cash a ticket here in the elimination game. Brian has the Golden Knights minus 133. It's going to be an outstanding game. I'm just sitting back and waiting for the next round, Brian. I cannot wait. Happy to have you, Brian. Take care, man. Safe travels. And everybody out there, enjoy the game. Best of luck, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.